All right, kids, that'll be about enough of that nasty music. Unhappy Wednesday, everybody. Coming to you live from our humble abode here in Fairfield Township. This is the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio, part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you, as always, for joining us from wherever you may be and whatever device you're using to stream us on YouTube. So please pull up a chair, turn up the volume, use the company dime. If you, God forbid, you're still stuck at work, crack open a cold one if that's your thing on a Wednesday night, and let's try to have some fun as we put an end to day 3 of this week's hostage situation and look forward to tomorrow being Friday Eve. We are going to get to the business end of shit right away here so we can welcome in our newest member. So let me get through it so we can get on to it. Everyone, Michelle's favorite part of the show, but she is outside trying to put the pool cover on. We are proudly sponsored by Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philadelphia, just minutes away from the sports complex. Cheerleaders brings you the area's most beautiful women on 5 different stages. Open 7 days a week from noon until 2 a.m. and until 4 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. For group information, call 215-467-1980. Also offering free parking, a full menu, daily drink and food specials, as well as a premium selection of cigars and a cigar lounge. If you're looking for a place to watch your favorite sporting event and you don't want to sell a kidney to get Eagles tickets, head on over to Cheerleaders and enjoy the 75-foot HD TV wall, as well as HD TV screens throughout the entire club. Once again, folks, that's Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, 2740 South Front Street in Philly. Call 215-467-1980 for all of your group and party information. As always, folks, the bottom of your screen, greenlegion.com. It's always there, and it will always be there. If you don't know how it works, go to greenlegion.com. You want to come out on the road and catch the birds and do it with a fantastic weekend with awesome hotel accommodations, a 3-hour pep rally the night before the game, a 4-hour tailgate on game day, and your upper-level ticket to said football game with upgrade options available should you choose to do so. You won't find a better place to do it. So head on over to greenlegion.com. Click on trips and tailgates. Find the one you want to go on. If it doesn't say sold out, book it. Go for it. Hop on in. Same thing for the home tailgates. Find the one you want to go to. Book that as well. 4-hour extravaganza at Stateside Live right outside the link, where you will also catch the Green Legion Fox Sports pregame show, which is also now simulcast on Fox 29. So go on out and see the boys down at Stateside Live before every home game. Come on out and catch us on the road where you can. You will never be disappointed. Green Legion, the best in the business, been doing it the longest. It's not even a question. All right. So, without further ado, over the weekend we were in Minneapolis, and we had the opportunity to meet a father and son who we sat and had a conversation with, a little bit of Hall of Fame conversation, which sparked some pregame stuff. But we're going to welcome in Mason Paul here. How you doing, kid? Met you over the weekend.
Doing good.
Love the content that you brought to the show. We are going to talk about some of that here in just a couple of minutes. But Mason, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the Green Legion audience here? Obviously, divulge whatever you're comfortable with, but they don't know you. We just met you the other day, so come on in. Welcome aboard, Green Legion audience. Please welcome Mason to the Green Legion radio crew here.
Well, I really do appreciate it. And you guys have just been absolutely unbelievably generous with all the opportunities, of course. My name is Mason Paul. I live in born and raised South Jersey. Eagles fan, of course. And my first game I actually went with my dad was back in 2015 against a rookie, Jameis Winston. He threw 5 touchdowns on us in a blowout. Like I said, born and raised in South Jersey. Went to Temple University for sports management. And every single year that I was actually at Temple University, I was working in their scouting department, watching prospects from local area, Pennsylvania, New York, Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, all across the country. So that was a blast. And now I actually work in the sports betting field, funny enough.
Very good. Sports betting fields. Why don't you give us a little background there? What is it that you do there?
So I actually work for Bet365, sports betting company. I actually started over the pond in England, and there I just kind of do customer service. So I do live chat, do the phone calls, do the email, all that kind of stuff, and it's a really fun gig. And they actually, when they kind of bring you on board again, I give you a little bit of a crash course in what sports betting is, what the lines are, how to calculate it, what the odds mean, all that kind of stuff. And so I actually had taken a couple of courses in sports betting when I was in college. Professor George Deemer was a rabid sports betting advocate, and so you couldn't take his courses without knowing just a little bit of sports betting there. And so he kind of christened me, and taking the job at Bet365 was a no-brainer.
Very cool. Very cool. So is this something you're going to want to stay in? You want to continue on this path, or do you have aspirations elsewhere? Or what's the long-term goal for you?
Yeah, I think at this point it's a really good spot I think I'm in, and it's something that I think it's a spot that I want to dig my heels in and grow upwards, if possible, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, if opportunities do open up, of course, you gotta choose yourself over choose family yourself over business sometimes. And so if that happens, that happens. But at the current moment, this absolutely seems like a place where I could definitely dig my heels in and start pushing upwards.
Very nice. So right out of college, you got the gig that's looking like a long-term future for you. That's always fun, right?
Yeah,
so we got a bunch.
My dad, at least.
I would imagine so. Bunch of folks in the room. I see Brian Walden is in here. Who else? Lou Mancini. Did I see Russ? I think I saw Russ. Keenan. No Russ. I don't see Russ. These are some of our regulars, some of our Green Legion Radio regulars. Okay, so Keenan Harmon, Lou Mancini, Brian Walden, Scott Calcaterra in the room. Mason, just to give you a heads up on Scott, he lives out here, hangs out with our crew, our Midwest Eagles Nest here that we get together each week. And if that last name rings a bell, it's because it should. Scott is the uncle of our backup tight end, Grant Calcaterra. I can tell you last year when we first got to meet Scott, did the show live from Back Porch Saloon where we get together every week.
Sure.
And we had Scott come in and he told us kind of his story and then gave us Grant's story. And just, I mean, what an amazing family overall. Calcaterra.
Absolutely.
Just an absolutely incredible family. So lots of fun. Keenan with Diaz was my favorite dipstick. I miss Diaz. Well, you know what? You're gonna have to get over it. Diaz is on, I think, bigger and better things as far as the Green Legion Radio crew is saying. We're just a lowly podcast. We can't. Diaz looks down his nose at us sniveling shits. No, but I can tell you when I first started doing this, Diaz was helpful in helping me get going, as well as first from me Quimby, obviously, and then Super Sam. Both just amazing, always. Scott Calcaterra says, "I'm heading up to Philly this weekend for the game. Will you be around, Mason?"
This weekend, I don't know if I would be able to make this game, but I'm hopeful for at least maybe another one by the end of the year. I am going to the Bears game though, with my dad on Black Friday. So
very cool. Yeah, we're looking for a pretty raucous crowd out here on Black Friday, given the fact that nobody's working that day, nobody worked the day before, nobody's working the day
after. Had to get
after.
off that day.
It's at 3:00 in the afternoon. People can still get out and get all kinds of fired up and drunk and whatnot and still get home by 8:00. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, when we were in Minnesota and you had that 12:00 game and you're done by 3, like, oh my God, I have the entire day left. This is crazy.
Oh, try
And like it's
LA.
not like leaving a link in a car. You could just we just walked to the hotel like it was no big deal.
Yeah, so we were in LA last year, and our game was later. But when we had college football on that Saturday, I mean, you're talking. Well, no, we were in December, so there really wasn't much going on. But like the early games were, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Oh
So
yeah.
you're having like
Yep.
eggs and eggs at that point.
No, 100%. I was talking about that. I was like, I can't imagine like what it must be like living on the West Coast and all the games starting at like 10 a.m. It's
Well,
like crazy.
then think about if your team is playing in England, right, or
Oh,
Germany, and where it's for us, it's a 9:30 start. For them, it'd
oh
be
my! For them,
6:30 in
it's
the morning.
6:30.
6:30 in the morning. Could you imagine?
Yeah, I'm good. I love football.
Yeah,
I'm not that
that's a
much.
little early. Yeah. I can handle the West Coast stuff. We were in Arizona a couple of years ago, and that was, I think, earlier in November.
Okay.
And so there was still college football going on, and they were a 2-hour difference, I believe. Yeah. And that was nice because your college games that would kick off at noon were kicking off at 10 o'clock. So you weren't, it's all over with by 6 p.m., 6 p.m.
Sure.
You're done. You're good to go. Let's see here. Lou Mancini. Mason, are you related to Jake and Aaron?
If only. We'd have a lot of money, but unfortunately not. Unfortunately not.
Brian says he loves 1 p.m. games. And let me get your opinion on this, Mason. So when I'm home and I'm doing my thing here, and the 1 o'clock game is the sweet spot, right? Because then I'm up there by like noon. We get set up. Everybody starts showing up at 12:15, 12:45, blah blah blah. Game's over at 3:30, 4 o'clock. You're done. We're home 5 o'clock. No problem. I can tell you when I'm on the road, and we're doing the Green Legion thing, I prefer the later start, not night, but the late afternoon.
4 o'clock.
Before. Well, and that's because the tailgate isn't 7 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean?
Right. No, 100%.
So we get it later. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know where you're at with that as far as your preferred start times. I guess if you're going to the game and you're just there, in Philly with no pregame or whatever to do, then 1 o'clock's probably your preferred. But if you had to do all that, where would you sit on that?
Well, I'm a morning person, so I wake up very easily, and so doing the tailgate show with you guys on Sunday wasn't too hard for me. So I'm kind of used to getting up early and getting up well there. But yeah, I can only imagine, if you're doing the tailgating stuff, your day doesn't start if the game's at 4:25, your day doesn't start at 4:25. It probably starts like at 1 or even 12 or 11 in some cases. And so having a longer kind of a runway there to kind of prep and to actually wake up at a normal time would definitely be beneficial there versus having to wake up at 7 or 6 o'clock in the morning and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we were in the Uber on the way over there. It was, I don't know, 10 minutes to 7 in the morning. 5 minutes to 7,
Exactly.
7 o'clock, somewhere around there. So I mean, look, you're not going to hear me complaining. It just if I had my preference when I'm on the road, it would be the 4 p.m. game.
Yeah. You got to get a little bit more elbow room there.
Let's see here. Scott Calcaterra is asking what the boner of the week. So I don't know if you had any time to give that any consideration. I really didn't. So, guys, just to preface this a little bit, I flew back from Minneapolis yesterday. I got home at, I don't know what the hell time it was, 1:45, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was exhausted. So prep time, and then today I had to go right in, and I had a training thing. I had to go to a different site with like 4 or 5 dudes that work for me and go do that because we have a new piece of equipment that we're going to be using in about 3-4 weeks. So we had to go get that training. So prep time for me really wasn't a thing for this week. And I didn't know going into it that we were going to add Mason. So usually I can just kind of wing it. And then we get, we meet Mason and his father. Mason comes on the pregame show with us on Sunday. And Quimby comes over to me. He goes, "Go talk to him. We want him." And I'm like, "All right, yeah, let's fire it up." So a little bit wishy washy this week. We'll be in better shape next week for sure. But, not too much time for me personally to prep. So as far as boner of the week, Scott, I mean the easy one. I don't know, Carson Wentz.
I was gonna say maybe Justin Fields are getting benched off of a winless team.
The Jets in general. Aaron Glenn,
Oof.
left a nice cushy defensive coordinator job to go be the head coach at that dumpster fire.
Whoever the owner of the Dolphins is, they're not firing Mike McDaniels.
The Ross family. Yeah, we talked.
Yeah.
When I was talking to you and your father on Monday night, we talked about the bad ownership.
Oh yeah.
So Miami with the Ross family and the Haslams in Cleveland, the Brown family here in Cincinnati, Arthur Blank in Atlanta. Who was it? Tippett, whatever, in Carolina.
Carolina, yep.
He's the one that drafted Bryce Young instead of CJ Stroud. Dynamite move there, but although Stroud doesn't look great right now either.
Yeah, I'm about to say. That one, you got to get that sometime more aging.
Woody Johnson with the Jets is another one. The Giants ownership. What they did with the whole Saquon and Daniel Jones situation was a disaster. We're very fortunate. We don't have to deal with that shit.
Very.
We got a GM that's basically a psychopath, and then an owner that is willing to draw escrow to pay signing bonuses almost on a whim.
Yeah.
So
open check.
Stars align there with you don't have. Whereas you come out to Cincinnati and they've got a shitty ownership group and no GM. It's just the owners.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories about the Giants ownership and how little they do and everything like that. And it's crazy because when you're the owner of the New York Football Giants, you think that there's a little bit more pride there, a little bit more like oomph there. Of like we have no one calls us Philadelphia Football Eagles. No one calls us that, but they call them the New York Football Giants. And you think,
well, you know why that is, right?
I'm not familiar with the story.
Because of the San Francisco Giants that used to play in New York.
Oh, yeah. I guess. But there's no baseball team called the New York Giants, so I don't.
Not anymore. Not for a long time.
Not anymore.
Lou Mancini says, boner of the week of the Sixers. The shit show starts tonight.
Oh, my God.
This is usually a time of year. So, Mason, to give you some more background on my end.
There you go.
My oldest son is 18. He's off at basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. But he's a huge basketball fan. He's a Knicks fan.
Okay.
So what I did a couple of times was I got him and Diaz on this show to argue with each other. And it was worth its weight in gold because Diaz just eats, sleeps, and shits who are a disaster. And the Knicks are a dumpster fire most of the time as well. But it was just gold. I just sat back and laughed like this. My 16 or 17-year-old kid just take this old man to school about basketball was great.
Yeah, I have a rule when it comes to the Sixers, and I made it a long time ago. I said I'm not watching a second of Sixers basketball until they make it past the second round. Safe to say I haven't seen them in a couple of years.
Yeah, well, I think that's a common thread for a lot of you guys. What is this? How quick until Embiid gets hurt? Isn't he hurt already?
I think he hurt his feelings today.
There it is. Very good.
I don't know if that's going to be on the injury report, though.
He hurt his feelings today. Nice. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to go boner of the week, we could throw it out to just, a whole mess of NFL ownership. I think Scott Calcaterra, the Titans owner for firing Vrabel. Mm-hmm. And also for trading A.J. Brown to draft Treylon Burks and think that was the replacement, right? Like that was a total disaster. Fire Vrabel, but then fires what's his name, Callahan, right before they had to play the Patriots to save some face because they knew Vrabel was going to come in there with the Pats and beat the shit out of them. Yep. That's a pretty bad ownership group too. That's a good call there. The Davis family with the Raiders. You can
Yeah,
float that one out there too.
they just keep throwing money at problems. They just keep like better stadium. Let's just do this. Let's just do that. It's like,
Well, and how bad do you feel for Ashton Genty? That kid has that huge year at Boise State, and he's on this Raiders team that is an absolute disaster, right?
it's a trade off of going high. So you get the money,
Here's
you
not a
get the
bad one.
notoriety, but that's it.
This isn't bad. Boner of the week: James Franklin going on game day and saying he was blindsided. All right, so real quick on James Franklin, because we didn't get to do this last week because I did not do the show last week because I was getting prepared to leave town and go to Minnesota. These guys all know, Mason, that I am a Penn State fan. They also know I'm an honest Penn State fan and that I was ripping James. I've ripped James Franklin the entire time I've been doing this show. So these guys all know it. I did not want him to get the extension when he got it a few years ago. They should have jettisoned him then. They didn't now. Do I think it's a bit much saying he was blindsided? Yeah, I do. But let's be honest. Let's be honest about a couple things about James Franklin before we completely throw him under the bus. He's a good man. Okay. There was no scandal at Penn State. Ran a clean program, restored some respect on a program that was in desperate need of it. Right. He's a really good recruiter. He's also great with the kids. And that's not just while they're there, but after they're done playing there. Saquon Barkley still calls James Franklin for advice and just to talk and whatnot. We all know what kind of person Saquon Barkley is. So, we can bash Franklin for a lot of things, 4-21 against the top 10. He leaves a lot of low-hanging fruit. But the guy got fired. Let's not kick him when he's down. He should have never got the extension. Probably should have been let go a couple of years ago. Penn State seemed to be happy for a while with just, let me win 10 games. We'll lose to Ohio State and Michigan. We'll play the New Year's Six Bowl, and there's no scandal, right? Seems like the alumni were fine with that ever since the whole, Sandusky and Paterno thing that happened some years back.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to that, one of the things that when I was looking at colleges and Penn State came up, the whole Paterno thing. My mom's like, "Oh, what about like Paterno?" And what you said about James Franklin and his impact at Penn State is rings so true because to me or to people my age, I'm 22. James Franklin was Penn State, and so whenever my mom say, "Oh, what about like Paterno?" I say, who cares? Like it's the James Franklin show. He is Penn State. And so to see he had to bring a program. I mean, it wasn't until I was older that I really understood what the implications of that were. But when you had to take over that program when Sandusky and all the flies around that shit are just going everywhere. And he had to build Penn State to what it was. Now Penn State is known, at least contemporaneously as the school that born Saquon Barkley and Micah Parsons and all the stars in the NFL today. And so all that really can go to credit to James Franklin.
I 100% agree. We talked a little bit about that on Monday night. How you're 22 years old now, and so when Franklin took over the program, you were 10. So that's kind of a couple of years before that in my life is when I started rooting for Penn State, and it was Joe Pa. Right? Like Joe Pa was everything.
Yep.
The whole thing with Paterno, Sandusky was his friend. And so when people reported
he was a coach,
Sandusky was a coach. And when people started reporting to Paterno what they were seeing and hearing about what Sandusky was doing, Paterno, by letter of the law, by natural chain of command, he did what the basic what your written process would state. If you hear this, you're supposed to give it to this. He did that, but that was all he did. You know what I mean? And at the time, you're talking about Joe Paterno, who was probably more powerful in the state of Pennsylvania than the governor of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yep. So the fact that he didn't do more and really push it, is a bad light on Joe Pa. He
Oh yeah.
unfortunately put himself in the spot to be dragged down with Sandusky. All he had to do was, okay, let me kick this to where it's supposed to go, but I
Yep.
should take it there and tell them, look, this is what's going on. You've got X amount of time to do something, or
Mm-hmm.
I am going to go higher, right? You just demand that something's done, whether the guy is your
Yep.
friend or not. And instead, he didn't do that. And it ended up costing him his career, and it basically cost him his
Reputation.
life. His
Yeah.
reputation. It basically cost him his life. When he got fired, that's pretty much what killed him. And I'm not saying
Yeah.
anybody deserved it, but
No, yeah. ESPN has a great like 30 for 30 on it.
Yeah.
ESPN has a great 30 for 30 on the whole Sandusky, on the whole like Happy Valley. I think it's a documentary on the whole Happy Valley thing, and that was terrific. And yeah, like I said, for James Franklin to take the aftermath of that to what Penn State is today is miraculous. To pick up the broken glass of what was left with the bomb that whole scandal was, and to see what Penn State is now, it's quite the recovery.
So I don't agree with enabled. Yeah, this is God damn it, Contra 628, and I can't remember. All right, so calling it enabled, I think that's a little strong. This is your no follow up. This is correct, right? There should have been a follow up, and he didn't do that. And that's what kills him. And then this is also correct. Could you imagine if that had happened in the social media era that we have now? Is that Russ? Is that where I'm screwing that up? I'm used to seeing Russ Taylor on here, and it's just giving me like I'm not seeing names. I'm seeing I'm just seeing your handle, and that's what's screwing me up. I'm sorry. That is totally my bad. So yeah, like Keenan, I'm seeing you as Keenan Harmon 6347. And then Russ is he's right. Russ is Contra 628. Yeah. So I mean that was ugly, but I don't want to. There's no reason to keep rehashing that shit. We don't keep going down that rabbit hole. What's done is done there. Because the other thing Russ said is, never forget it, but move on and stop reliving the glory days. And you're right, 100% correct. And we had a comment from Lou Mancini who says he wants Matt Rule to replace James Franklin, and I think that is an interesting.
I think everyone wants Matt Rule to replace everyone. To be fair, but
right, I think that's accurate. Right, like Matt Rule is a very sought after guy.
Very, as a Temple fan, very.
It is a risk, right? So let's get your opinion on that. I mean, it is a risk. So you fire James Franklin because you were never going to be better than a B+ program with him at the helm, right? He wasn't going to make you elite, right? He was kind of that. No. Kind of right in that next tier below your Ohio States and Bama and Georgia and all that, right? Not going to crack into that elite class. But now you fire him because you think, okay, we're never going to get over that with him. But there's also the yang to that yin where you may not even be B+ once you find your next guy.
Yeah. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know.
Yeah,
that's always a gamble the owners take. And one of my favorite quotes is that I forget who said it. It was a GM, and he said, "If you listen to the fans, you'll be sitting right next to them." And so there's a lot of thought that goes into that kind of stuff. And Matt Rule's a terrific recruiter. I mean, when I was on Temple, I mean, people spoke, legends of Matt Rule. So it's not any disrespect towards Matt Rule, but the only thing with if Penn State goes with Matt Rule, theoretically, but it's pie in the sky.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure on Matt because the expectation is, okay, we're selling a guy who got us 90% of the way or 90% of the way there for guys who take us an extra 5 to 10%. That's a lot to be selling for a little bit of gain. I mean, everyone wants a national championship, so it's no small feat. But you're really, scraping to really optimize the possibilities there, and so it's a really big gamble, and it really puts Matt Rule in a practically boom or bust every single season.
It does. 100% correct. And whoever this next guy is going to be hired as the guy that's going to take Penn State over the top. Right. So that level of pressure.
Past Franklin. Yeah.
Yeah. The next step is you become the elite program. You're part of that class.
That's right. That's right.
You're now A- to A+ rather than B+ at best. And that's a big leap. It's a huge class to get into. And no matter who ends up being the head coach there, it's that level of pressure is going to be on him, which is why I've heard it floated out there. I don't know if it would actually happen, but I'm on board with it. When people start talking about Urban Meyer, this is a guy who is 100% a narcissist.
Yeah.
Does not feel that kind of pressure, right?
He'd be a great kicker,
going
though.
to affect him.
He'd be a great kicker.
Right?
He'd be a great kicker.
Working out with the kickers.
That's right.
But think about it. You want a guy who recruits well, has had success in every program he's run, and that level of pressure is not going to affect him at all.
No, his resume speaks for himself. Yeah,
he fits the mold, and even if he's only there for 5 years, you never guaranteed anything. The only thing I can guarantee is we'll be at least in that elite class.
Yeah, I mean, Urban Meyer by itself, his name carries so much recruitability. It's insane. I mean, he's in the conversation of James Franklin's and Matt Rule's. You hear Urban Meyer, and you're like, well, he's the guy who's at Ohio State, and I mean, how many other colleges was he at? And so, yeah. And so
on the map, he got championships at Florida, again at Ohio State. Guy's been successful. Well, the only place he wasn't successful was Jacksonville Jaguars, but if you couldn't see that coming, I don't know what the hell was wrong. He was never going to work as a pro coach.
Mm-mm. No, I mean the pro game and the college game are so distinctly different. It's crazy because a lot of people are like, oh, let's take like the national championship team and put them up against like the worst NFL teams. Like, do you understand like the difference between there? Like, you're looking at like Ohio State when they had like Dwayne Haskins or like Ezekiel Elliott. They're like, oh yeah, they trounced the Browns. Like, there was a handful of NFL guys on a national championship team, but there is a 53 NFL guys on the worst NFL team. Like, do you understand how stupid you sound?
Yeah, you're trying to make people who really believe that. You just got to look at them you just look at them like, are you really like? Do I have to continue talking to you?
Exactly.
So you have 130 or whatever it is Division 1A teams, right? But it's throwing it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact number.
Massive.
And all of this NFL talent spread out amongst these schools. Now, most of it's with your SEC and Big Ten and all that. Got it. You pick all of that. The NFL is the top 1% of the top 1%.
Yeah, that's right.
Your college starters at that level are the top 1% of what you see in high school.
That's right.
Your NFL guys are the top 1% of what you see on Saturdays. Like, it's not close. So the Jets are an abstract disaster. They would absolutely maul any collegiate team. Any. It's a drastic jump in talent level across the board would be too overwhelming for any collegiate team.
No, 100%. And one of the things that I quickly realized when it came to when I was in the recruiting department at Temple is that you quickly realize that the guys who I was recruiting were the best players in that high school's history. Yeah. And then they come to Temple and they're just like another player. And so, I mean, like the echelons and the layers of the tiers in football from amateur to collegiate to professional, I mean, it is astronomical, way more steep than people give credit for.
Russ says, there's no titty bars. What did he say? I know titty bars, and they are correct about that. Russ also wants to know, can we talk about Danny Dimes and the Colts being 6-1? Now, we brought this up on Sunday, and I immediately dismissed it.
That's right.
I did not want to talk about Blue's Clues. It is impressive. I get it. I think you got to give a lot of credit to Shane Steichen.
That's right.
For coaching this kid up. I think it makes Brian Daboll look incredibly awful in the fact that he could not get anything out of Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
the talent level on the Colts a little bit better overall than what the Giants had. You were talking about
Just a little
and
bit,
Saquon.
just a little bit,
So
just a little bit.
there is something to be said, but he does. He looks great. He looks absolutely fantastic, and it's odd, but it's I'm not rooting against the kid anymore, right? He doesn't affect us. He's with the Colts. I ain't worried about him right now.
Right. No, he's
I've got one of my guys.
Out.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, he's balling out.
He is. He's having himself a great year. So I've got one of my guys here, Dev, says, "What do you think about the injury report just released?" And I don't know if you saw this, but let's not have an overreaction Wednesday. But we've got A.J. Brown, Adoree Jackson, Cam Jurgens, Azeez Ojulari, and Trot Jr. None of them practiced today. A.J., it's once again a freaking hamstring. This is every freaking year. Adoree Jackson with the concussion. We talked about this, you and I, on Sunday, on Monday evening. Would be very unlikely to see him on the field this week, having to clear protocol.
Yeah.
Cam Jurgens with the knee, that's very concerning. Ojulari's been out for a while, and Trot Jr. Look, I'd love to see Trot Jr. make a bigger impact, but let's be honest, he is very much a backup to Bond and Nakobe Dean and Jahad Campbell at this point. Now you have your limited practice with Jacorian Bennett. That's a step up for him because he's been out, and I really need to see what this kid can do at that CB2 spot. This is the kid we traded the defensive tackle Booker to the Raiders for.
Right.
And he had a good year with the Raiders last year. My hope was that he would step into this CB2 role, and he's been banged up. Grant Calcaterra, limited, better than he was this last week where he wasn't really practicing. That's an oblique. Scott was able to give us that info. Landon Dickerson still feeling it with the ankle and back. Dallas Goedert with the calf now, right? And Ojimo with a shoulder. Brandon Graham, full practice. Not injury related. So that's a lot. Now it is only Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't want anybody freaking out. It's just the first injury report of the week. I think the call out's there, and you tell me how you feel about it. A.J. Brown with the hamstring. Again, this is an every year thing with him. Jurgens not practicing. Dickerson still banged up. I don't like Ojimo on that report because it thins out that rotation at the defensive tackle spot. And now Goddard again with this with yet another injury. How serious it is, we don't know, but he seems to always find his way on that injury report.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when it comes to injury reports, one of the things that I learned when I was kind of going through my scouting stuff is that when it comes to injury reports, they sometimes carry gold and they sometimes carry nothing. A really good story that I learned was that when Brady and Belichick were together in New England, Belichick would have him on the injury report all week up until Saturday, and then he would take him off. And so
Belichick was an ass.
Belichick was an ass, and he knew what he was doing. He definitely knew what he was doing. But it's Wednesday, and so the game's on Sunday, and so the guys are going to be banged up. Not to kind of give away to any of the serious injuries, of course, like Jackson, who's got the concussion. He's not coming back this week. I hope that Jurgens is good though, and the knee and do not practice don't look very good. But I am hopeful for the guys like in the limited practice guys. Give them another day, Thursday, Friday, and then of course Saturday to see what might be going on there, and hopefully everything kind of shapes up. I'm very hopeful though. I am.
Yeah, no, I mean, like we've both said it now. It's Wednesday, right? So Friday's going to really tell you what's going on, right? Like
that's true.
Once you get to Friday, if you're seeing guys not play, so if AJ Brown has a hamstring problem, he's not practicing on Friday, we got problem, right?
That's right.
That's not good. For now, I'm not going to freak out about it. Real quick on Brandon Graham. Look, we all love BG. Everybody loves BG, right? He's coming back. This is now 16 seasons, right? When you include this year. Personally, I would prefer he didn't do it. I was perfectly happy seeing BG go out on top. Super Bowl victory, 15 years in green. He had nothing left to prove, nothing left to give us. That freaking torn pectoral twice, right? Like, brother, we get it. You want to come in and help. And I respect the shit out of him for it. I really wish there was another way. I don't even know how much he's going to play. And I'm not sure it matters, to be honest with you. If he's very deep in that rotation for the edge, on the edge, his presence in the locker room is really what we're bringing back.
That's what the signing is. A lot of people, my initial knee-jerk reaction to the signing was exactly that. Was this guy's 37? This guy's had how many injuries? This guy's gray in the beards now. Like, what's going on here? But the more like you marinate and then you just think about it, you talk about it. This is not a prime rotational spot in the roster. The guy is 37. The guy was drafted in 2011. 2010, I believe, actually. This guy is Philadelphia. And so what the offense has Lane. And so Lane is like the cornerstone guy who is like the North Star on the offense in terms of veteran presence and everything like that. On defense, you really don't have that. You have older guys, but those guys aren't like Philly guys. The Brandon Graham signing is not a guy who's like, oh, we just went from a B- to an A+ rotation. No. What you did is you took your locker room from a locker room who may have been kind of suffering a little bit morale, and then you just plug a jump starter into that locker room. Brandon's electric. His personality is infectious, and his energy is abundant. And so if you could get that guy for the, I think we're giving like $4 million. Yes, $4 million 1 year thing is like, fuck it. Well, why not? This is not a rotational. He's going to get 5 sacks type. He's going to play like 10% of the snaps.
No. Yeah.
What he's there for is he's there to mentor Jordan, and Jalen, and Morrow, and all those other guys. He's there to be the pillar for that defense. This is not a stat signing. This is a culture signing.
I 100% agree with you. That's exactly kind of where I'm at. Now, I hold firm that I wish he didn't do it. I wish there was another way, but I understand why. We got the youngest defense in football. The oldest starter on our defense is Zach Bond at 28 years old, followed by Rick Blankenship at 26. Everyone else is 24, 23, 22, 21. So, and you're seeing the effects of some of that. Jalen Carter has been a knucklehead out of the gate. Couple of personal foul things. Gets kicked out of 6 seconds into the first game. The linchpin of our defense is thrown off the field, right? Like, that was obnoxious.
Yeah, Brandon won't let that happen. Brandon won't let that happen.
Right. BG will go out there and talk all the shit for them, right?
Exactly.
And
because he knows like where the line is, he could control himself. 100%.
At the same time, I do need to see. So, and not only do we bring up Bond and Blankenship as the older guys, 28 and 26, but they're also the guys with the C's on their jersey, right? So not just your age being more than the rest of the starters, you've got the captain's patch on. It's time to step up, and I'm hoping that BG can kind of pull that out of a couple of these guys too. Maybe teach them, because BG's going to come back with a gold C on his jersey.
Yep.
Yeah, that's. I have one. Yeah, I've got that jersey upstairs. So hopefully he can have an impact on our current captains too, and try to help that along a little bit.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, this is going to be a jump starter, a plug and play type.
Yeah.
It's not going to be for stats. It's going to be for culture. I think you'll see that a lot faster than you think.
Yeah, and I agree with it. I think that happens very quickly. I think the culture changes fast, very fast. Speaking of culture change, let's get into Sunday's game here, because we've only got about 15, 20 minutes to go. It goes quick.
No problem.
Obviously, Jalen Hurts looked incredible, right?
Yes.
Obviously, Hurts was amazing, right? Perfect passer rating, and only 23 attempts to get to 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
14 average, yeah.
Not a whole Yeah, not a whole lot of spreading the ball around. I mean, 9 of them go to Smitty for $183 and a touchdown. 4 of them go to Brown for $121 and 2 touchdowns. After that, it's Goddard 3 catches for 18, Shipley 1 for 7. So it was your three-headed monster there with Jalen,
Sure.
Smitty, and AJ. And then you flip it around and look at Carson Wentz, right? So Carson Wentz, 26 of 42, 313, but no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It's a 64.9 passer rating compared to Jalen's 158.3. He also fumbles the ball once and kicks it back 15 yards. I mean, this was typical Carson Wentz, right? It's really what it was.
At least the first half was very reminiscent, yeah.
Yeah, second half he looked a little bit better. Get the turnovers go away. By that point they were in a bit of a hole. But we talked about who was going to have the bigger impact on the Minnesota end during that pregame show, and I told you. I mean, I raised my hand right away and said Jordan Addison, right? Because your expectation is Quinion Mitchell is going to do his job when we do play man coverage, which we don't do a shitload of, mostly so. But when we do, you expect Quinion to be on Jefferson and that he was going to do his job. Jefferson, 5 catches, 79 yards is still a decent day. Jordan Addison hauled in 9 for $128. So that CB2 spot on our end is just a huge, huge problem.
Yeah, regarding the game, when you watch the game, I liked Hurts, and then when I looked at the numbers afterwards, I loved Hurts. I'm not sure if a lot of the viewers are familiar with, but everyone's been talking to me, or not to me, but talking around about the pass rating thing, all of that. What really made my eyes pop out of my head was the QBR. And for those who are unfamiliar, QBR is a ESPN proprietary stat. Is something that they made up in 2011 to track kind of quarterback stats. And so where the passer rating formula is known publicly, the QBR one is not. So QBR goes from 0 to 100, with 50 being average. Typically, Pro Bowl quarterbacks have about a 65 QBR, and MVP level quarterbacks have about a 75 QBR. Jalen Hurts on Sunday recorded a 95 QBR. So this was the Jalen Hurts that we've been waiting for this whole season. You made a comment about him not really spreading the ball too much. When you're paying guys like we're paying Brown, and you're paying Smith, you're paying Goddard, I kind of hope that those guys are soaking up some of the targets, some of the receptions there. And so actually, when you take a look at like the charts of where he's throwing the ball, and you compare that to some of the previous games in the season, where the Cowboys game, he literally throws the past 10 yards like 3 times. And then like over the course of the season, it's starting to stretch it. This game, he just let it out completely. I mean, none of the touchdowns were drop downs or anything like that. They were launches of the ball. 4th down was a launch. Of course, the one to Smith was a launch. The dagger to Brown was a launch. And so this was the Jalen Hurts we've been waiting for this whole season. He didn't run, but he threw the ball all over the yard. And I just hope that this is the type of Jalen Hurts we see the rest of the season. And we'll be sitting pretty.
I totally agree. To me, and I love the QBR call out because I do think it's a nice thing that's added in, so people aren't just looking at rating. There is another measuring stick, right? QBR. But to me, it's where it's only 23 attempts, right? Because I think that's the sweet spot. For our offense, I think that's the sweet spot is Jalen 20 to 25 pass attempts. The problem we're still having is this run game is shot. Like there is nothing going on here. Saquon Barkley's 18 carries for 44 yards. Now he had a couple of nicer runs at times when we needed it, right? Mm-hmm. But overall, it was not another not good outing. And Jalen only 4 attempts, negative 10 yards. So these aren't really even rushing attempts. This is him getting sacked and having to scramble, right, on pass dropbacks. And I'm not going to complain about a victory, and I love the way Jalen looked. This isn't a knock on Jalen at all. This is, again, where's my RPO offense? Where are the things that we're doing with blocking schemes to get Saquon Barkley going? I know that Dickerson, Juergens, and Lane Johnson being dinged up a bunch has played a big role. But where is the design in the offense, like we saw last season, to get this thing going? I don't like Kevin Patullo. I don't. I think he's too much Nick Sirianni. I think it's too pass happy. That's not our bread and butter. We did well on Sunday with that, but again, he only threw it 23 times. It's not like he threw it 35. So, and I think they try to fall back on, well, we ran the ball 18 times with Barkley. Yeah, but they're just bullshit runs. There's nothing there. There's no blocking scheme set up. There's nothing scheming a path for him to come through. Last year, he's running through holes that you could drive a Mack truck through. And you get Saquon Barkley coming downhill, and the first guy touching him is a corner. You got a friggin' problem because that kid's 230 pounds his damn self. He's going to run through most arm tackles by a corner. And we saw it all last season. Did I expect him to have 2,000 yards again this year? Of course not. That's ridiculous. But what we're seeing right now is alarming, the lack of rushing statistics overall from our birds. And it's not just Barkley. We're not getting any runs from Jalen either. They've got him just sitting back there throwing the ball.
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct. And to your point about Hurts only having 23 attempts, that is echoing the fact that, first of all, they really own time possession. We did not do very good on third downs at all. But Hurts only had 23 attempts, and so the rest of those plays were run plays. And obviously something's not working. It makes you really have to think about, the impact that someone like Mekhi Becton may have had in terms of really paving those lanes from the interior there. Because he was a tackle that was moved inside. So you take a big guy like that, you put him inside it, you're going to get some movement. But this is not really the same, of course, Saquon that we saw last year. And not much has changed, but things have changed. And it's few enough things that have changed where you can say, okay, well, that one must be holding a lot of weight here. Because it's not like 10 things change. We're like, fuck. Which link, which switch did we flip that made this change? It's only like a handful of switches that got flipped here. And so it makes our job looking, what changed a lot easier. You have Mekhi Becton leave, and you have, of course, Kevin Patullo, take over for the play calling, all that kind of stuff. But you still have the guys like Jeff Statlin that are there to kind of teach and usher in the offensive line, and that hasn't changed for as long as I've been an Eagles fan, at least. And so this is not the same Saquon. They got to get the run game, because as soon as one team with a really good secondary rolls into Philadelphia in the divisional game in January, we're fucked.
I mean, and then throw on top of the fact, here we come. We're coming to late October, getting into November. The weather's going to turn, right? It's going to get cold. You got wet season coming. The field's going to be mucked up. You got winds and stuff. And let's be honest, if the wind's blowing around, Jalen's going to have trouble. We all know he doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, right? It's not really, it's not his biggest strength. So that's where you need that run game. Right?
That's right.
We've got this workhorse in the backfield. They have got to figure out a way to unlock that run game again. And that includes Jalen running the ball too. Let's get the RPO game going again. Let's get these guys moving. I think part of it is we're a little predictable when it comes to that crap. And these guys know what's coming. This is a straight handoff coming, right? Jalen's not a threat running the football right now. And that takes a lot of eyes off of him and puts him directly on Saquon Barkley. He's also been facing a stacked box at a higher rate than he has at any point in his career, including his time with the Giants. It's like 80% of the time these guys are sneaking another guy into the box. They're not showing a whole lot of respect to the pass game. Now, maybe this past Sunday he'll do something about that, because Jalen exposed the shit out of that Vikings defense. But they just haven't been doing it. They're like, we're just not going to let Saquon beat us. Unfortunately, up until Sunday, it's worked, right? We've struggled offensively. You mentioned before about time of possession. It was a problem again on Sunday. We only held the ball for 26 minutes.
That's right.
This has been an ongoing thing. Third down, we were 3 of 10.
It was
Like,
garbage.
these are problems.
Disgusting.
Yeah, we overcame it Sunday because outside of that, we maximized the possessions we did have. We touched them.
Oh yeah.
Jalen was able to throw the ball. Isaiah Rodgers got smoked.
Oh yeah.
But it was more of the same. And again, the penalties, 8 penalties, 64 yards, Philadelphia.
This defense, say what you want about, maybe we don't get the most sacks, and I'll be right there with you saying we need more sacks. And, I think we all wish we had the 22 defense again. But when I think there are a few things that are kind of important to kind of keep in mind here, especially with the defense. That was the greatest bend but don't break showing I think I've ever seen in my life. I mean, they go down inside the red zone how many times, and they only come out with field goals every single time. With the whole third down thing, as much as I would, I don't like seeing the 30%, but at this point in Nick Sirianni's tenure as the head coach of football of the Eagles, at this point, every single drive is 4-down territory when, we could just push Jalen for 2 yards. And so I think in some areas, they kind of see third down as second down, and then they see fourth down as third down. And so if you have a 3rd down and 7, you might be okay with running the ball with Saquon to get 5 yards, knowing that 4th and 2, you could probably get those 2 yards pushing Jalen across. And so I think that the heat about converting on 3rd down isn't there anymore because they know that 4th and short, just push Jalen across the line.
Yeah, but you got to get to 4th and short, right? You can't be sitting.
You do have to get to 4th short. Right? Our 4th down conversion rate was terrific, though.
It usually, we were 2 or 3. So, it's the time of possession and the penalties. Like, it's a lot. And that run game, there's still a lot to be desired. We exposed some things on the, on the secondary of the Vikings, namely Isaiah Rodgers, who got smoked. And one call out here, I guess a Vikings fan was caught out spewing some sort of racial slurs at Rodgers. We're getting smoked. I think it's
supposed
to
be an Eagles fan or something.
Can we not, right? Like, and it doesn't matter to me whether who he was a fan of. Can we not do shit like that? Look, if you want to call him a bum and a loser and all that, dude, by all means, he earned it by getting torched all day. They start throwing racial crap out there. Come on, man. Like, dude. Like, there's certain fans that just shouldn't be allowed at football games. They just shouldn't. It's terrible.
Yeah, they ruin it for everyone else.
They do. So then you go to the defense, right? So you mentioned pressure. We talked about that in the pregame show. We actually did get a lot better pressure on Sunday.
We did.
We only dumped him twice, but we hit him 8 times. And I think the pressures were like 13 to 15 where we were in his face. Now, he was able to scramble away from a few. The one where he juked Bond had steam shooting out of my ears. But, shit's going to happen. But we did dump him 8 times. We sacked him twice. I think the pressures were somewhere, like I said, the low to mid-teens. I think it was like 13 to 15 times. So the pressure was better. And that has to continue. When you can add Jihad Campbell to that rotation out there and start keeping some people more fresh, now BG is going to come in and just take a little bite out of that, right? Guys get just a little bit more breather with an extra dude there. I think it should help. And then, his drive and leadership, obviously, like we talked about, should help overall. Other than that, I don't really have much about the.
Yeah. I think that they might just put Brandon on like blitz packages and to kind of, lessen the load on him as much as possible so they can give him some one-on-ones or hell, even have him screaming off the edge or whatnot. I know that's, we love NASCAR and having, Brandon's a smaller guy, but he's also, he's faster than a lot of other defensive ends. And so I think that Fangio will be looking forward to doing some more NASCAR stuff and put him in blitz packages to lighten the load.
Yeah. And I think that helps again, because then somebody else doesn't have to take that snap, right? Jalen Hunt gets another playoff. Jihad Campbell gets to take another breather. if we can get Nolan Smith's ass back on the field, he gets another breather.
He's fast too.
We should get healthier and get. He is fast. Nolan Smith
He
is
is
fast
fast.
coming off that edge. He is fast.
He's rangy too. He's rangy. He's got.
Did you have anything else on this game before we head into the? Oh yeah, long arms, built a lot like Hassan Reddick was. Very much the same type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything else on this game before we talk about the Giants real quick before we get out of here?
No, yeah, let's just hop over.
Hop over to Giants. All right. So yeah, I think we covered everything we could on this one. The Giants is self-explanatory to me. This needs to be revenge. This needs to be vengeance. When we played them 2 weeks ago, that was a team who had just come off a 12-point loss to the freaking Saints. Lost Malik Neighbors. Lost their number 2 wide receiver. And Jackson Dart throwing the ball all over the yard. It was embarrassing. So I respect rookies when they accomplish things. I don't like hearing rookies with big mouths. And Cam Scatterbo needs to get that mouth shut up. I'm going to need revenge this coming week in a big way. I don't want to hear about 17 points against the Giants. I understand they rush the passer well. Let's get the run game going, okay? Let them be aggressive up front. Catch them in that aggression and let them over-pursue the play, right? Let's get a little misdirection. Run it directly at Abdul Carter. Run it right at him. That's what we used to do with Micah Parsons when he was with the Cowboys. We would just take and everyone would pull and come right downhill at him and shove him out of the play. He'd get after the quarterback, but he was non-existent in the run game. We don't have to be perfect like we were on Sunday in the pass game. We just have to be efficient and get the run game going. But I don't want to hear any more from Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. That was embarrassing. And that happened in their house. It better goddamn well not happen at the Lane.
Yeah, this game is a really big moment in the season for us in terms of, it's this almost carries like the weight of a Aaron Rodgers. I think we run the table where you have some really bad losses and you have we have the game on Sunday, of course, to kind of right the ship and say, okay, you know what? Jalen just threw 300 plus yards with 23 attempts, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And it's time to get the ship on its sail. And I think the offense balled out on Sunday, so I think that the defense has a great opportunity, especially with BG back added to the culture. Hopefully, we can see a spark on the defensive side of the ball. But nonetheless, when it comes to neutralizing guys on the defensive line, one of the things that team started to do, courtesy of us, once Micah started to have his little flare up of stats and all that kind of stuff. Exactly what you said. They ran at him. They basically, when you had RPOs, he was the option player. He was the guy who was unblocked. He's a guy who you forced to make the wrong decision. And so when you put a guy like Micah or you put a guy like Abdul Carter in that position, the problem solves itself. You let him take himself out of the play. And so it's going to come down to our ability to properly design plays for that, to plan for that, to strategize for that. Do they do that? I don't know. I'm with you. I don't have a lot of faith in Kevin Patullo. I think he just recently found out that the play sheet's double-sided. And so, we can throw the ball all over the yard as much as we want to, but it's going to come down, there's X's and O's, but there's Jimmys and Joes as well. And so it's going to come down to, putting you guys in the right position, and hopefully we see some adjustments, and hopefully this past Sunday was a sign of things to come.
I couldn't have said it better. I feared, and I think I brought this up on Sunday when we were on the pregame show. Is this a team that's just trying to get through to the bye week to make their team-wide adjustments again, right? Last year, we had the luxury of a week 5 bye week, right? So we went to Tampa. We were all banged up. No Smitty, no AJ. The offensive line was all gassed and fucked up by the end of the game. So we got obliterated by the Bucs, but then we had the bye week the following week. And that was when the team kind of went to Nick and was like, look, We need to run the football. You went and signed this guy. Let's use him.
Right.
Get Kellen Moore, okay, who actually has Spencer Rattler looking like, I mean, not a great quarterback, but Spencer Rattler doesn't look inept, right? When you can make Spencer Rattler not look inept, you're doing a pretty good job. Kevin Patullo, again, like I've not seen anything to this point in the year that leads me to believe scheme is a thing. And that piece has to get figured out. I'm not saying you got to go fire people because we all know midseason fires don't usually help anything either. But, I start to question again, and I'm sure Cap would back me up on this. Is this Patullo entirely, or is it Patullo being part of Nick Sirianni type of offense? Because I got to tell you, this type of offense feels very, very reminiscent of the first half of 2021, of all of 2023. And what did we find out in 2023? That Brian Johnson was creating the game plan, but Nick was calling plays. What did we find out the first half of 2021? That Nick was calling plays before he turned it over to Steichen. Steichen dove into the run game with some blocking creativity there. And we went, that 2021 team had no business making the playoffs and still got there. The more Nick is just managing the team and the less he's got his hands in crap, it seems like the better off our offense is doing. And there's Cap there. Yep, Cap agrees. Yes. And just like we talked about. Yeah.
One of the biggest critiques of Nick Sirianni is that Nick Sirianni is not going to write a book on football philosophy and have it fly off the shelves. But what he is going to do is he's going to be a player's coach. He's going to be a guy who can relate to players on a meaningful level and have them buy into his vision. He's great at playing or coaching through other coaches. Letting coordinators truly be the coordinators that they're supposed to be. And so, when it comes to Patullo and all that kind of stuff, something's going to have to change or, listen, we don't even have to think about it or hypothesize about this. Lane Johnson says it himself. Lane Johnson says that this offense is too predictable, that we're not doing enough RPOs. He says it to the media. And so it's not a secret, at least not to the public anymore amongst the players. And so I think that, they're not stupid enough to think that nothing is wrong. But it all comes down to who's willing to accept and swallow their pride for the betterment of the team going forward.
100%. It is predictable. Do you happen to use NFL Plus at all?
NFL Plus, I do not.
So they got this thing called All 22, right? It's not perfect, but it does give you two different camera angles of every play, every snap. And one of them is like from the coach's box upstairs, where you literally see it all. This offense is so vanilla. I'm not even sure the scheme was all that great against Minnesota, but for the fact that they couldn't cover Brown or Smitty to save their lives. And Jalen just exposed the shit out of them for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at it overall, we didn't look that great. Jalen and Smitty and AJ looked fantastic.
That's right.
Apart from that, the defense makes a few plays, but that was, offensively, we were not good outside of those three. So I'm not. I have this feeling like I had in 23 where we are winning games because of the overwhelming amount of talent that's on the roster.
That's right.
Not because of what the coaching staff is doing. That's how I feel about what's going on right now.
I will say though, we talk about the stars of the game being Hurts and when
there's Cap.
When we talk about the stars of the game, we talk about Hurts and we talk about Smith and we talk about Brown. I think one group that we're really overlooking here is the offensive line. And Hurts had 3.5 seconds to throw on average in that game. That's a long time to cover someone in the NFL. And so usually it's 2 seconds.
It is. That's a
you have 2 seconds to get to that backfield
in the NFL.
the fourth down touchdown to Brown, the first one, he held the ball for a fucking year, and then he had enough time to point Brown to where he should be, and then threw it. And so quickly shout out to the offensive line, have them have some recognition there, because this is Stoutland's brainchild. The offensive line is every single year, and on Sunday he proved why he is truly worth his weight in gold.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. But I think Jalen holding the ball for a long time like that, and we've seen that from him a lot this year. I think that is him being uncomfortable in this offense. I truly do. And while we all know he doesn't throw the ball over the middle well, there are things that this coaching staff can do to make those throws easier for Jalen. He doesn't have to throw it 30 yards downfield over the middle. Give me the 5-yard, give me the 5-yard crossing route over the middle. 10 yards.
The Zachary special.
Things to scheme guys open. Or give me AJ on a slant. Something, right? AJ Brown is 100% built for that 6'1", 230 pounds. It bothers me when you look at this shit. And Cat calls it out himself right here. The way they're winning is a problem if the coaching doesn't get better. So I'm going to bring in David Loeb here. It's coaching. So David Loeb here, would you bring in Dougie P? Not a snowball chance in hell. All right. Number one, the fact that Dougie was fired and they brought in Nick. All right. So let's just start there.
Yeah.
You really can't do that.
Yeah, bring back your ex with your
I'll
birthday.
also, you just can't do it. I'll back that up with the fact that me personally, I think Doug Peterson very much caught lightning in a bottle in 2017. And I think he's wildly overrated as a head coach. I just do. Now, I understand he wouldn't be getting brought in as a head coach. He'd be an offensive coordinator. I'm not sold. Even that play, the Philly special, Doug just knows he wants to go for it. He has no clue what the fuck he wants to call. You can see it in his face when Foles goes over and goes, "You want Philly, Philly?" Doug looks up from his menu there like this. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Like, dude, look, he had great coordinators, and I'm not trying to say it was a complete piece of shit, but he very much caught lightning in a bottle that year. We were healthy all year. Look at the rest of his coaching tenure outside of that one season. It's a whole lot of mediocre to bad. So me personally, even if Sirianni is not there, I'm not bringing Dougie back. No thanks. Thanks for the memories, dude. I'm good.
Yeah, no, your point about coaching is 110% correct. I think it was the 2023 year where we have the great start and then just the complete fall off in the second half. That really kind of gives the vibes of that, where it felt we knew in our bones that we were winning just because we had Hurts and Smith and Brown. That was it. We just out-muscled and out-talented everybody. But the hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. You can have the fastest guy in the world, but if you don't tell him how to run a route, he's not going to be able to catch a ball down the field. And so it comes down to not only having the talent, but putting the talent in the places that they can succeed the most. And we're blessed. Howie Roseman has built this team to be on its own. I mean, good enough to handle 80, 90% of the league in terms of sheer talent, so that our coaches aren't always at the helm of the blame every single week. We have talent that just drags us by sheer talent to wins. It's only going to take a really great coach to just absolutely expose us with the way that we're playing. I think that's what the Giants were. I think that's what the Broncos were. You can't always rely on talent, especially when other teams know you very well and they could just neutralize your guys through sheer scheming.
Yeah, well, I think we've seen that a lot in the second half of football games. And what that tells me is you got a coaching staff. This isn't on Fangio by any stretch of the imagination. I believe that when we've seen second half defensive deficiencies, it's because our offense isn't sustaining drives long enough to help our defense out. Right? We're just not. Like I had the numbers. I think we averaged 13 and a half minutes of possession in the second half of football games, and that was worse over the last few weeks. Like some of that is buoyed by a better start. we averaged 60.5 fewer yards in the second half than we do in the first. That was going into Sunday. Right. So it's a thing where not only is the game plan offensively not great right out of the gates, the halftime adjustments aren't there. It's like, okay, we've got a lead. Let's just keep doing what we're doing. Well, when you run into a Sean Payton or,
Yeah.
when you got to play a Sean against a McVay. Now, that game was odd in the way this season has gone because it was the complete opposite. We started out horrible and came roaring back in the second half.
That's right.
But when you don't make adjustments, you run into one of these coaches, you got a problem. Like if Kevin O'Connell had a quarterback that wasn't a knucklehead, I don't know what happens on Sunday because Wentz had opportunities and he just didn't quite get it done. I'm not saying JJ McCarthy is the answer because we just don't know. He's not been on the field enough, but we know that Carson Wentz isn't. He's there to just kind of hold down the fort. I know overall the offensive scheme is shit, and it doesn't get any better after halftime.
No, and to that point, I mean, when you look at the schedule coming up, you have the Packers with LaFleur, you have the Lions with Campbell, and then a couple of weeks later, you have Harbaugh. Yep. I mean, these aren't slouches. These aren't guys like Aaron Glenn or Brian Dable. All right, even though Dable cooked our ass, these are legit coaches that have track records. And look what happened in 2023 when we went up against the Niners. Shanahan absolutely destroyed us and exposed us, and basically gave the rest of the league a blueprint to how to just wipe us off the map, and we could not recover after that. It only takes one of these coaches to actually watch a film and be like, okay, this is how we neutralize these guys when they just rely on sheer talent. When we can coach our guys to even the same level as a Harbaugh, LaFleur, Campbell, what have you, we are the best team in the league, bar none, because of the talent that we have. But it's not if we can't put our guys in positions where they don't have to just will by sheer talent, we're going to get exposed by a lesser team. And that's what we saw in New York. And that's what we saw against Denver.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with it. And it does. It feels very 2023-ish, and I don't like it. And that's, once again, this is another guy that was promoted from underneath Nick. Now, Brian Johnson, the difference there was he was the quarterback coach. He had a good relationship with Jalen Hurts. He was I forget if he's the OC or quarterback coach or whatever at Mississippi State when Dak had his huge college year. This is not a guy who was unaccomplished in different roles, right? Brian Johnson had been successful. That's why I look at this and I'm like, this feels like too much Nick, right? It just feels like too much Sirianni. Stay the hell out of it. You promoted the guy to do a job. Let him do his job. Let him call the plays. If it doesn't work, fire him. But you're never going to know if you just keep him under your thumb. And I think that's what's going on. I think it's too much Sirianni influence on the offense, my person. And that could just be because Patullo's been under him the whole time. But it feels like too much Nick from these old eyes here.
No, I think that's 100% right. I mean, one of the things that really kind of added to the decline of Wentz was hiring, I forget his name off the top of my head, but he hired his friend as his quarterback coach. And friends don't make really good business partners, turns out. And so I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that Nick is an offensive-based coach. His entire career is offensively based. And so when you hire some guy like Fangio, Nick's not going to do anything with the defense. You kidding me? He's not going to do anything. But with the offense, he feels a lot more comfortable because that's the offense. Well, he feels a lot more comfortable with the offensive stuff because that's where he came from. And so I think that he automatically just assumes that, I was a receivers coach for X amount of teams and I was raised in offensive football. I think it's just a thing for me to have my fingers in some of those things. Like, Nick, you're a shit talker. You are a player's coach. You are here for the energy to, get the players into the culture. We don't need you to be a, Don Coryell. We don't need you to be these guys who are changing football. Just be there for the players and we'll win Super Bowls.
Agreed. Stay the hell out of it. Just manage the team. He's the only coach in the league that has to have a bodyguard, right? Because of the way he behaves, right? And it's because of the way he behaves.
Yeah.
He's the only coach in the league that needs that. And as long as he doesn't keep dicking around with my offense, I'm fine with it. If Big Dom has to have a job, that's fine. But maybe part of Big Dom's job title needs to be to keep Nick out of the offensive game plan too.
He just slaps the play sheet out of his hand.
This right now is, just like, dude, go yell at someone, go hype somebody up, go talk
exactly. Go heckle someone.
Go do something, dude. Go heckle somebody.
Go heckle.
Right? Go yell at a fan.
Exactly.
Too much. All right. So you want to give me a prediction for Sunday? What do you got?
Oh, well, I was kind of close this past week. I said 31-20. Man, like I said at the pregame show for the Vikings, it really depends on what kind of Eagles we're going to see here. With the Vikings, are we going to see a real Eagles team, or are we going to see a continuation of the Broncos and the Giants? We fortunately saw a playoff level offense and a really good defense on Sunday. And so with Graham back in the fold, boosting the guys with the morale in that way. Giants, this is a really good time for us to really just put our foot down, put their foot in the neck and don't let up, make a statement. I think you could see, I don't know how, a 27-10.
27-10. So you think we return the favor, right?
Yeah, I think we're at home. You don't lose to the
Win.
Giants. You don't lose to the Giants at home, and you don't give them the pride of keeping it close. I know that Nick Sirianni, at least Modern, has a little bit of a phobia of blowing out teams, but I think that this is a week that you just got to do it. You just got to unleash the magazine. Reload next week, but empty the whole cartridge this time around. And I think you'll give a lot of defense, a lot of confidence to your offense, to your defense, to everyone in the organization.
I am 100% with Cap on this one. I want revenge. I want vengeance. I am out for blood. I would like 40-10 Cap would be fantastic. I don't know that we're going to run it up like that. I think, to Mason's point, if it's that way late in the game, Nick's going to take his foot off the gas. We all know it. He's not going to rub salt in the wound. He won't do it. I agree with you, Mason, that he should, based on the way the Giants behaved after that victory. But we've done a lot of shit talking ourselves, as a team, and that includes Sirianni. I don't think it'll get to 40-10.
I want that too, by the way. I want that too. I want this to be a 50 burger. I want this to be a shutout. But I'm just being realistic of what I've seen Nick Sirianni do for his whole tenure here. He's not a guy who runs up the score obscenely. 2017, we would do that. We scored 55 points against the Broncos in 2017. This isn't that same Eagles team.
The only thing I loved about Peterson is Peterson never took his foot off the gas. That was the only thing I liked about him. Was he was not afraid to rub salt in the wound. He wasn't.
And realistically, that is the only way you win games in this league. It's when you don't give your opponent oxygen to breathe and come back. You just keep your foot on their necks and you don't let up. If you can't get used to that. You just can't. In the people forget in the Super Bowl, we were up 40-6. Okay, that box score lies. It is a lie.
Oh yeah.
That game was not 40-22. 5 minutes left. That game was not 40-22. That game was 40-6, and we decided to let them come back.
Yeah, I agree with it. To me, the 10 for the Giants is more important than the 40 for us, right? I need the statement to be, okay, Jackson Dart, you had your 15 minutes of fame. Cam Scatterbo, you had your big game. You had your 15 minutes of fame and your big freaking mouth. I don't like rookies with big mouths. I don't. I never have. I don't care who they play for. I don't want to hear from rookies. You had a big game. Good for you. Now shut up about it and go do it again. I need those two smacked around like redheaded stepchildren on Sunday. I need them.
I agree.
Beat down and I mean ugly beatdown. I need that. I need our defense to come out and absolutely step on their throats. You're going to add a very hostile Philadelphia crowd who's going to be fired up because of that loss a couple of weeks ago, and then throw in Brandon Graham running back on that field with the team. That crowd is going to be ravenous on Sunday. I expect the defense to shut that offense down. So I want 40-10, but I think 24-27-10 is probably more real. And maybe even 21-10 is probably more realistic, just based on what I'm seeing. And it could be 21-0 at halftime. The second half, we don't do shit in the second half as it is, right? It's just been how the season's going. I would love to see that change. Here's the only caveat. If we come out in the second half and we're able to fire more than we've been doing the previous 7 weeks, then I think Nick has to keep his foot on the gas. Let the guys get out there and feel good about it, right? Return the favor. If the opportunity is there to step on the Giants' throats and make those kids feel terrible, then you have to take advantage of it.
No, 100%. If you have the opportunity, you got to take it, not just for, practice reps or, you got to play to, the triple zeros. You got to do it just for, just so you can do it, just so you don't atrophy in being able to score when you're up. And you also got to just know how to put away games. You can't score 21, 24, 27 and just coast. You got to put that game to bed. You can't give these guys any room to breathe. We are a very talented team that can come out to a commanding lead, a 21-point lead, a 17-point lead. But the problem is we fall asleep and we let these teams come back. You need to get used to putting away these teams, because if we didn't put away the Chiefs like we did in the Super Bowl, my game's a lot scarier. It's only because we didn't do that we just destroyed them. We were up 33-6, and Jalen Hurts from the 50-yard line takes a shot to Smith because he can. Because we were up by 20 plus points, but he's like, I don't care. This is a Super Bowl. We're gonna win. I'm gonna throw this bomb to AJ to Devontae and put his game to rest. And that's what happened. We got to get back to that. And until we do, I'll be watching the games with some nails.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Keenan Harmon with a good call out here. We're also wearing Kelly Green. Crowd gets fired up for that too. I love it when we do the Kelly Green games.
BG's back with the Kelly Green. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. David Loeb, Saquon Barkley will score a touchdown today or this Sunday. All right, look, I'm here for it, man. I want him to score 5 of them. That's my dude. Scott Calcaterra, Big Dom, La Familia. David Loeb says 21-17. I got to tell you, David,
you got to be more optimistic.
I need to have a Sunday it's not a day full of cardiac arrest. All right. I am getting too old for that shit. I need this team to come out and blow somebody away. At least once this year. But all right, Mason. Well, final thoughts for the week before we close out the night here.
This is a really good, I guess, come to Jesus moment for the offense, and continuation for the defense in terms of pressure. And we hit Wentz 8 times, like you said before, and so Fangio is doing his part, and so it all comes down to the offense. The offense absolutely exploded on Sunday, so I'm glad to see that. I think a bonus prediction for Sunday. I hope that we can record 5 sacks. Hopefully, I think maybe Davis gets 2 and Carter gets 1, and we share the sugar a little bit. And I think we're at home. Kelly Green, BG's back, 5 sacks. Let's get a 2 to 3 possession victory. And I think that Philadelphia won't be on fire.
That couldn't agree more. And they're going to need it because the Sixers just got going. And we all know that's going to be a shit show. So I'm ready. You guys, you know how I feel. I mean, I said it when we first started talking about the game. I need revenge. I need vengeance. That was a complete and utter embarrassment. They had no wide receivers to throw to. Talking about ragtag practice squad guys with a rookie quarterback and a rookie running back and an offensive line that, while it does have a decent left tackle, isn't really much to write home about. Their front four defensively can get a lot of pressure. That's the one thing where they are elite, the Giants, is they do get after the quarterback well. I need scheme to get around that. We talked about pushing out, just take Abdul Carter as an example. I need run game scheme to push those people around. I need to see my offensive line go out there and push people around. Sick and tired of getting pushed around. And I don't care whether, I want Juergens and Dickerson out there, but we do only have one more week till the bye week. So if you're risking too much, then let them sit. But I need that next man up to come out there and push people around, right? If that's a Fred Johnson that's got to move to the inside for a game, it's not like it would be the first time, okay? Because Toth doesn't look all that great. I would experiment with it, but I need to see this run game get going, and I'd like to see it from Jalen and Saquon, right? I think they're one and the same. If you can get that RPO game back, and they're both with designed runs, it's going to work out better overall. Get Jalen his 20 to 25 dropbacks, but I'd also like to see him with 7 to 10 rushes. To me, that's our offense. Right? If he drops back 20 times, I expect to see him run 7 times, 10 times. Hand the ball off to Barkley 25 times. Need to get back to where we were last year. We were dropping back 25 and rushing the ball 40, right?
Yeah.
Just dominating the clock, running people over, pushing people around. That's the offense that I expect to come out this week, because this is the statement game, right? You've got 2 weeks of rest time after this because of the bye. This is the statement game. I don't know what other kind of motivation you need, but the fact that you got literally embarrassed on both sides of the ball and special teams 2 weeks ago against this Giants team. So need them to come out and drop the hammer on the Giants. And we'll yes, Brian Daboll. That's enough.
Ditto.
All right. I don't have anything else. Do you?
No, I think you said it pretty much. Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right. Well, so guys and girls, Mason's going to be part of the show for going forward. At least for the time being, anyways. So get used to Mason being here. Enjoy the content that he brings. We enjoyed the conversations over the weekend. We enjoyed having him on the pregame show. So this show for a while is going to be UnHappy and the MP coming at you.
That's right.
Every week. Now the day may change based on our work schedules. Okay, but we'll shoot for Wednesday night at 6, and then if work schedule dictates a different day and time, then we'll adjust to that and we'll keep you up to date with everything. But Mason, welcome aboard.
Appreciate it, brother.
Great first show, man. Love having you here. And we're going to go ahead and do the outro here and get out of here. So for everyone in the room, whether you're in here now, or watching later, thank you very much for joining us. Come on back again next week. Until then, this has been the UnHappy Gilmore Show with the MP, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. Proudly brought to you by the beautiful women at Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club. Located at 2740 South Front Street in Philadelphia. Call 215-467-1980 for all of your group and party information. Y'all, be safe, have fun, enjoy your upcoming weekend. Let's get this win wearing Kelly green. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Remember, the judge is not back in until Monday. And as always, kids, go Birds! Mason, stick
Go
around
Birds!
for a minute. All right, kids, that's going to be enough. You guys take care. We'll talk next week. Go Birds. We love you. Mason, stick around. I'm going to end the stream here, and then we'll chat for just a second.